everybody, welcome to the Never Explained Book Show Off. The first time ever that the assembled geniuses that you see to the left and below me have ever got together in order to ridicule some of the greatest books that the world has ever seen and Harry Potter. And so my name's Steve Cross. I'm your host. I will be asking questions and these wonderful people will be answering them. But before we do any of that nonsense, let's go and talk to the person with a PhD in the most advanced form of mathematics there is, counting up to about 100 to keep score for this show. Sarah Jones. Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Hello. Well, I'm actually 3 weeks away from my thesis being submitted, so I am awful. In fact, I've got 2 drinks in the go. I've got a big tall glass full of gin and I don't know, something pink, and a little cherry glass full of margarita. So
amazing. I love the yes, the spirits in the large glass, cocktail in the small glass. That's how it works. What's the something pink?
It's some sort of pink lemonade. Rose, I guess.
Is it pink lemonade?
No, I mean it does taste floral. So I
think Fentimans. Is it a Fentiman?
It might be. My mother's quite a fancy woman.
Yeah, your mother is well fancy. Brilliant. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for showing us those. I'm drinking Kinney Zest, Malta's #1 sugar-free bitter orange soda. Only available in the UK from Amazon. I buy all of it. If you go on, there isn't any because I buy the whole lot. Or I used to. I went on, there wasn't any. My friend Kimberly had liked it so much when she was in my house. She bought it all because they don't bring a lot into the UK. She bought the lot. Let's find out who our incredible teams are. So first of all, let's go over to what we're calling Team Talent Factory. 2 people from the mentoring scheme that I run. Zoe, you've done this game before. Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody? Tell them what your books and comedy credentials are.
Hi, my name's Zoe. I am trying to finish my PhD in 18th century literature.
Books.
Basically, many books. In fact, including the longest book ever written in the English language. If you ever need a doorstop in your home, I would recommend. And other than that, yeah, Steve lets me hang around trying to be funny at things with the Talent Factory crew, including having come on here before. So I make jokes and read things, and mainly read things and make bad jokes.
What's the longest book ever? You've really left us hanging.
It's called Clarissa, by a man called
Clarissa,
Samuel Richardson.
It explains it all. Literally a dictionary by Clarissa.
Pages.
How many pages?
1,500 large pages of very small type.
Yeah, right. So old-fashioned book pages, not like now where every book is 1,500 pages, but it's only 10,000 words because they only put 8. And it's not large print. They've just put these massive borders all the way around. So it just ruins the lines of your bookcase. I mean, look at Kate's lovely bookcase in the background there. That would be much nicer if all the books were just a perfect line all the way along on every single one. It's so unruly, you modern books. Anyway, let's find out all about Zoe's teammate, Shirley. Who are you? How did you blag your way on?
I'm Shirley, and I have, less impressive than Zoe, a BA in English. So my name is Shirley Halse.
That's 2 degrees in English literature. I mean, look at the other team.
I have been doing comedy about books since I realised they were ridiculous about a week into my degree. And I now run like a niche night called the Alternative Book Club, which is kind of a comedy night and a book club. And it's the sort of night where people will heckle, but only to kind of add information or clarify a point.
They're like the footnote hecklers.
Yeah, absolutely. Or marginalia when you're reading. It's the real life version.
That's amazing. I don't remember if I ever had hecklers when I ran a books themed gig. Yes. Mostly it was people heckling details about my sex life. So let's move over and find out who our other team is. So this team is Masterpiece Bookshelf because they've both been on Masterpiece Bookshelf. One of them 80 plus times and one of them twice. Greg, you're probably team captain, having been on Masterpiece Bookshelf more than Kate. Who are you? Why are you here?
My name is Gregory Akerman. I am here because Masterpiece Bookshelf was a thing myself, and you did for a while, and It was absolutely incredible.
I was good on it. You were all over the place.
I was really, really good because I read the books, as was the remit of the show. I am a podcaster, comic. Technically, I'm a theatre director and a playwright as well.
And writer.
Yeah, so technically I'm a writer and a theatre director as well. I'm currently the Dungeon Master for Chaotic Adequate, which you can check out at chaoticadequate.wordpress.com or wherever you listen to podcasts at our very, very erratic release schedule. But
Don't worry, we'll sort that out.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I am here for mainly all of my deep insights into a variety of books that I have half listened to the audiobooks of at double time before promptly forgetting about them.
Yes, I remember the time we did Finnegan's Wake, and you were like, well, the proper audiobook's 41 hours, but I found a 7-hour version.
It was 10 hours.
10. There we go.
And I could tell
and
you
then you listened to it sped up, so you got through it in 7.
So I can say as fact that Finnegan's Wake makes no sense. No sense at all.
But you have read it.
Yeah,
Let's find out who's on your team. Kate, hello.
Hello, I'm Reverend Kate Harford. I'm a real priest, a failed bookseller. I technically have a degree in classics. And the last time I was on Masterpiece Bookshelf with Greg, I had to bring my dad as a chaperone.
Yes! Where did you sell books, Kate? I'm intrigued by this.
Waterstones, Gower Street.
Oh, which departments did you work in?
History and archaeology. And sometimes under sufferance law.
Who were the weirdest people you ever met?
No libel, right?
Yeah, don't libel anyone, but just be loose with a description. Like you can say UCL professors are a bit odd, but if you specify individuals and say they had a wank in the archaeology section, that's libel.
I made a point of never finding out the names of people having a wank in the archaeology section.
People had a wank in Waterstones. Is that a thing? Is there wanking in waterstones.tumblr.com where people talk about their stories?
Well, nobody ever went into the one customer toilet because that was where we always found the erotic fiction that we'd lost. The stuff you couldn't find on the shelves, it was always in the customer loo.
Have any of you ever tried to use the customer loo at Waterstones Gower Street because you really need a piss? It's fucking impossible to find, right? You've had 2 coffees in the coffee place. They'll quite happily fill you with liquid and diuretics. But then you try and find it. It's impossible to find. Then when you find it, there's a queue of 3 people, presumably because someone's having a wank in there. It's ridiculous. Like you can't serve coffee and not have proper toilets, Waterstones, Gower Street. Sort your sen out, as we say in knots. Sort your sen out, mate. Right. That's enough of a rant. Welcome, all of you. Anyone who's ever watched this show before, which might not be any of you, because normally it's about science, but we're branching out because we have great intellectual depth. By we, I mean me and Sarah. Like these 4 people you see in front of you, we'll find out about their intellectual depth in the next hour. And what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I'm going to ask our teams questions. They're going to tell me answers every time they say something that's funny enough that I laugh or I would laugh if I wasn't trapped in my house for the last 8 months with 3 people who've just, my voice has become background noise to them. They don't even notice it anymore. I could be on fire, screaming fire, fire, fire. None of them would fucking notice because they're just like, is Steve talking? I don't know. I've just filtered it out selectively. Every time they get a point, you'll hear, well, we were trying to work this out. We might do this, but apparently you can't hear this when people talk. So I was going to do this.
Yes.
Which is the Marv Albert celebrating when you score on NBA Jam noise. So we'll do that. Every time they score a point, you'll hear.
Yes.
And those points will be tallied by Sarah Jones. Sarah, did you hear those yeses okay?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So let's crack straight on, shall we? I'm going to start with our most experienced person at putting up with me, which is Gregory Akerman. And we're going to do question 1. Question 1 is, listen, guys, right. I know book burning is bad, but let's just burn 1 each, right? Which book would you like burned and why? Starting with Gregory Akerman, go.
Right, when you told me that I could burn any book in the world, I thought 1 probably wasn't enough, and I wanted to get as much bang for my buck as possible.
Yes!
So I decided to choose the book Passing Time on the Loo by Stephen W. Anderson because it is a presses of 229 books. Essentially, I have found a loophole to burn 229 books when I'm only technically allowed to burn 1, which means I'm burning Of Mice and Men, I'm burning Last of the Mohicans, I'm burning A Tale of Two Cities, I'm burning The Good Earth. I could go on, but that would take far too long, right? And my impression is that if I burn that, technically all of those books just disappear from all the libraries and all the bookshelves in the world. if that isn't the case, and I just have burnt a book which is an amusing book full of summaries of other books, I can pivot the idea into thinking that true art should be respected, and books full of summaries are making a mockery of anyone who truly wants to read and understand literature. So I would win on either side.
Amazing. Round of applause to Gregory Akerman, please, for our first answer. I mean, we've got to really work out what happens if you read the book of summaries. So if the summary only has the plot, does the plot disappear from the book, but all of the rest of the book is still there? And it just becomes a list of descriptions of people and their houses?
You would only be left with the metaphors from all the books, the worst bits of all of those
worst
books.
Bits.
Yeah.
Sorry, friends. A long agreement between me and Gregory is we don't like metaphor because we don't get it. Just say what you mean, for fuck's sake.
Just do an emotion.
Also, I mean, I noticed that you picked 5 books that you've scrapped at random. Didn't you think you should have really focused in on ones you might have got points for a bit more?
No, because
there must be some in there which were home run. Steve will definitely give me a point for burning.
Well, Pride and Prejudice. But the thing is, all of the 5 Shakespeare plays, 5 books, all exclusively on marketing and best ways to do that, and like 100 tips for being a good business person. Books like that are in it. But I thought a quick fire win would essentially be saying, Steve, I want to burn loads of books because technically, apart from historical connotations, it's just the same as pulping.
You see, you think that, but it feels like a cop-out. So let's find out what the other team have done. Let's fly over to Shirley. Shirley, hello. So the question was, I know book burning is bad, but just for today, let's burn 1. What do you want to burn and why?
I desperately want to burn this book, which is Survival Guide. And I read this book because as a hobby in lockdown, I've been growing a baby.
Yes.
These are sympathy points.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. That's the problem. What's my hobby being less diligent about contraception? Anyway, I got this for my partner because I assumed he wouldn't know everything you need to know. And then I just read it to check that I did. And this book is not aimed at me at all. This is aimed at some kind of baseline man who has 2 interests in his life, and one is football and the other one is sex. For example, like it gives you lots of advice, like what kind of scans and appointments you need to go to because there's loads of them. One of them's like, yeah, you should go to this one. It's quite good. It's like watching the telly. Or don't bother with this one. Go to the football instead, which I don't appreciate, I would say. It says other stuff like, yeah, not really a great time to have sex with her right now because she is actually giving birth.
Yes.
And it's not just this book that's the problem. There's a whole genre of books about this that's like baby survival for men, with titles like Commando Dad, which is like, I survived the hostile Arctic and the toxic jungle. Wait for me to take on my biggest survival challenge next. Like having a baby.
That's like every fucking male comedian, when they're 31, every show is, but now I'm having a baby and I've got to be an adult. But how? Because
I did Google survival rates for fathers in childbirth, but doesn't look like there's been any research done. Just kind of unfair.
That's because my partner is quite heavily sedated and they wouldn't give her a knife.
Yeah, so I think too much toxic masculinity.
So Shirley, that was great. I'm going to give you 5 points, but I'm going to take 1 off for every appointment or scan that your partner has missed so far. So how many appointments or scans has your partner missed so far?
Oh, that's hard because he's not allowed in some because of coronavirus.
Right.
So he's not come to 2.
Right, so that's 3 points for Shirley there. I know that he's not allowed, but government ministers can apparently do what they want. So they've created a loophole today after they done a naughty and had a meeting of loads of them in a restaurant with like loads of weird business people. They're like, oh no, freelancers are allowed to just go to the pub for work with people. And I'm like, are we now? Let me run through how freelancing works. Literally, our clients are our friends and vice versa. You just gave me carte blanche to go to the pub with anybody. Like, HMRC know this. This is why freelancers aren't allowed to claim other people's food and drink from work meetings, because they know. HMRC know this. But apparently the fucking chancellor doesn't. The chancellor's like, oh yeah, the freelancers will just go to the pub with legit business contacts. My legit business contacts are my friends, for fuck's sake. Anyway, brilliant. Well done, Shirley. Excellent question. Let's fly over to Kate now, because you're hearing too much about how much I hate the government. Let's fly over to Kate. Kate, tell me, we're going to burn one book. What are we going to burn?
We are going to cut the toxic masculinity off at the source. We're burning the Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Bits of the Great Gatsby that Greg has left behind.
Yeah.
That was 7. I fucking hate Gatsby.
The whole book is drinking and toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Point off for slagging off drinking.
And slagging off drinking. Well, no, I'm not slagging off drinking. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's very boring to read. It's fine to watch. You're very fun. You're very enjoyable. Reading about people drinking is the absolute fucking worst. What is that?
It's a Canadian club. It's a high rye blend from Canada.
Ah. Well, they wouldn't be drinking that because they were
Why not
only
mix
drinking...
it with Kinney Zest? Malters, number 1.
They definitely weren't drinking that.
Sorry, Kate, I've interrupted you. Keep going.
It's all right. There was a rant about how Jay Gatsby is basically Donald Trump, which I've lost.
Yes.
It's shite as well. Like, you hate metaphors, fine. He doesn't use any metaphors. He just uses symbols that he takes and, like, bashes you over the head with it. You see these eyes? These eyes on a billboard? There are eyes. They are what?
Yes.
That points for Gatsby.
Hell. Also, the only people who read it wear roll necks and tell you they've read Proust, but they can't spell.
Yes.
And they misquote Sartre. And there would be no Murakami if there weren't Gatsby, and we can just burn the lot.
Greg, have you read Gatsby?
Oh,
Good.
I did. We did a live show about Gatsby, and I had to do 15 minutes on it without reading it or watching the film. I'm very proud of myself. Marvelous answer from Kate. Big round of applause. Sorry?
It was probably better.
It wasn't as bad as it was Wuthering Heights, where an act pulled out at the last minute. So, not having read the book, I gave Greg all of the A-level questions that have ever been about Wuthering Heights, and we did a live interview where he interviewed me as a world expert on Wuthering Heights. And the thing that was really difficult was that the whole front row were AS English literature students who had an exam on Wuthering Heights the next day, and the whole second row were AS English literature teachers who were nodding. And so Greg was asking me questions like, what role does the metaphor of the weather play in Wuthering Heights? And I would have to be like, I feel like when the weather's bad, the characters are doing bad.
And you were right.
Yeah, these teachers were
that
like,
is it.
But my favorite answer was Greg. One of the questions was, what barriers in society does Wuthering Heights address? And I said, I feel that in common with much great literature, the greatest barrier that the author and the text are trying to challenge here is the barrier between the text and the reader. Fucking lap of honor for that one. I was out my chair, off around Waterstones, Tottenham Court Road. Like, come on. That's a first week undergraduate answer. That's not an AS level answer. He'll get beaten out of you at the first week of undergrad. Amazing answer. Right, let's go down to Zoe. Zoe, who's like crippled with the weight of her English literature qualifications. Like a whole troop of monkeys on her back. Zoe, you got to burn a book. What are you going to burn?
There were a lot of options, but
Yes.
I would like to burn The Lord of Light by Robert Zelazny.
Yes.
This book has more names in it than a Tolstoy novel, and that's like
Yes.
that just should be a baseline, not allowed. Furthermore, these names get reused by different characters within the novel. So
Yes.
one character might be played by 2 different people. And that's also
Yes.
not fair, because I just got used to it being the last person. If that's not complicated enough, right? The summary of this book is literally the summary on Wikipedia. If you want to look it up and check you haven't forgotten anything about it, it's longer than a Russian novel. By
Yes.
the time you've waded through it, you will discover that the 2 women who are the main characters, and by that I mean the main female characters, because obviously you didn't think they were the main characters, they
Yes.
both take on the same male role in this book, because there are avatar gods in this book, and for some reason they have to have a male body, and so the two women who take on the same male body, this does apparently make sense somewhere, they both spend the whole book worrying that they're not manly enough. So that just irritates me straight off the bat. Then you've got the fact that one of those women is the literal force of chaos. And if the force of chaos requires a penis to defeat plot armor, there is a big problem.
Yes.
Oh, you want to know what she does that's so bad? She wants the planet that they're on, because, again, they've gone to another planet.
Yeah, of course.
She wants the planet that they're on to go back to the way it used to be, before they sailed in on a spaceship and colonized the natives who they decided were demons. And your protagonist used electromagnetic waves to trap the demons in a place they called Hellwell, I guess because the marketing department was on strike that day.
Yes.
There was only really one option when it came down to it, because there are so many books that I'd like to burn, but I've explained briefly to you why this one annoys me, and I haven't even got onto the army of Christian zombies who march across the land.
Can you save me one copy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kate's going to actually preach on it next week. So a couple of questions. Zoe, number one, are you sure you didn't read a book about Scientology by accident?
It would probably have been more interesting and wouldn't have won the Hugo Award.
Oh, man. Wasn't Chuck Tingle last 5 for the Hugo in a row or something? Anyway, right, let's rewind. Zoe, does it pass the Bechdel test or not?
No.
Right, okay, because 2 women have a chat about how they can be a man.
No, they're each the same man at different times.
Right. Yeah, no. If the only 2 women who have a conversation are also both a man, I think you failed the Bechdel test. Brilliant, right. We've heard from everybody. Big round of applause for all of our wonderful performers. Sarah Jones, you are the boss of maths. You're actually the Welsh Minister for Maths now, aren't you? I heard you've been promoted.
That is true. There was a coronavirus-based vacancy on that. So, luckily in Wales, our Excel spreadsheets have double the number of rows because they've got it for English and for Welsh. So we're absolutely sorted.
Plus, 1/50th the number of people must make it so that you don't...
Yeah, there's only like 3 deaths anyway in Wales. So, and they were all people who came in, so it doesn't matter.
They were all English. And they were stabbed to death. COVID smeared on them as a way of covering up the murder. Oh, yeah, it was COVID related. It was fucking COVID on the knife. I'd like to apologise to anyone who's had any friends or family stabbed in Wales during COVID while they were touristing there. I really apologise for what I've said there. Sarah, what are the numbers?
Well, it's bad news for Masterpiece Bookshelf, who are trailing behind, but...
To be fair, they're missing their star player, so what do you expect?
There is a slight condolence for them in that they are currently on a blessed number of
Yes. Yeah! Pimp numbers. Love it. Well done, Masterpiece Bookshelf 15. Let's find out.
But it's a double delight for Talent Factory, who are on Diving Pimp.
So those of you who've never watched before, Sarah only knows the Welsh for odd numbers. This is a recurring theme. So let's move on to question 2, friends, if I can find it. Yeah. Question 2 is our great lists of literature round. I'm going to give you the title of a PowerPoint slide. I want you to tell me bullet points that were on that slide when you delivered it to the Chippenham Literary Society annual thing. And the first one is pencil notes I was not expecting to find in a library book.
I loved this book. Thank goodness the author trained in cyber.
Yes.
My very own address.
Yes.
Inside the cover of 1984, customers also enjoyed the news.
Yes.
The film was better.
Yes.
Inside my cover of the copy of The Handmaid's Tale, it says, "Over my dead body, Ruth Bader Ginsburg."
Yes. Yes.
Point
Spoiler
for each
alert.
line of that one.
Spoiler alert, he doesn't even catch the fucking rye.
Yes.
It's not called Catcher of the Rye. And technically, that would be Reaper, wouldn't it? I like it. I like how confused this reader was.
0 of 10 doesn't even have an on switch.
Yes.
Author's note, do not attempt to recreate The Last Supper at home. It is extremely dangerous to sit with 12 people who are not part of your family unless you're at school or on a plane.
Yes.
And one of them's plotting to kill you. I mean, to be fair, Greg, it's me who's plotting to kill you if you ever have 12 people around for dinner.
Oh, I always assume that.
Okay, good. Any more pencil notes you weren't expecting to find in a library book?
Please, 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 Sandra, take me back to the library.
Yes.
No one's called Sandra.
That's why it's unlikely.
Yes.
Point for Zoe for clarifying her own team's answers.
Figure 1, Venn diagram of people who claim to have read Proust and people who have never read Proust, and it is a circle.
Yes.
It's a book about cakes, isn't it?
There was, yeah.
Yeah. It's like Bake Off, but worse.
The cakes were Madeleine.
I don't know if that's a statement of what's in the book.
It's a Proust joke. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Point off, Masterpiece Bookshelf, for being like, no one's read this. Now here's an in-joke for people who've read it.
It's the only thing anyone knows about that book. I haven't read it.
Just
I
the
have
intellectual
definitely-
showboating is ridiculous here.
I've
Let's move
definitely
on
not
to
read
number
it.
2. This is one that I set, not really understanding the question, but we'll find out. Friends, / fiction pairings you would like to see.
Cthulhu and Scamper, who is the dog from the Secret Seven.
Yes.
Just
I had Timmy from the Famous Five and the dog from the Secret Seven.
Yes. Yes.
That I would read, right? Because that Famous Five dog is fucking stuck up posho, and the Secret Seven is like the lower middle class, we live in terraced houses version, and they're very cool. I always read Secret Seven. I never read Famous Five. Famous Five was like they all grew up to be Blue Peter presenters, and not now when Blue Peter is like diverse and interesting, but Blue Peter when I was a child, when everyone on it was called like Timothy Ovalvery, and they were all like, sorry, I hate Blue Peter. People who do the Duke of Edinburgh, they've all watched Blue Peter. Keep coming.
The Oxford Dictionary and the Cambridge English Dictionary.
Yes.
Heathcliff and Caffey, because they never properly got a chance to come together in Wuthering Heights. So it'd be lovely for them to have an opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, Wuthering Heights 2. Finally, they get it on.
Little Miss Sunshine and Rain Man.
Yes.
Hamlet and literally anyone.
Yes.
Moses and Dumbledore.
Yes.
Sherlock Holmes and Where's Wally?
Yes.
Oh,
Daisy Buchanan from The Great Gatsby and Jamie Lang from Made in Chelsea.
Oh,
Same
yes.
full depth.
But they have to shag in front of Gatsby while he cries.
Beowulf and that other one who was literally made for Beowulf.
Yes.
What?
The other one. You know
What?
the second person in Beowulf?
Yeah.
Invented exclusively for Beowulf.
Eve.
No, that you're thinking of Bible again. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
you're
but-
doing.
Sorry. I'm sure the authors of Bible were thinking of Beowulf or vice versa. Any more for this one, friends?
Dominic Cummings and Banyard Castle.
Yes.
I'd quite like to see Donald Trump locked in a room with Annie Wilkes from Stephen King's Misery.
Yes.
He's not a good enough author. Should be breaking his ghostwriter's ankles. Right, let's move on to round 3. Round 3 is, I can now reveal who the real killer was.
The friends we made along the way.
Yes.
A privileged
Yes.
white man, we're going to let him off with a warning.
Yes.
He's got a big future ahead of him, Zoe. What did you expect? I
Ian,
should have done a murder back when I was young enough to still have a great future ahead of me.
Ian
An ups-
Rankin in the kitchen with the revolver.
Yes.
I
And-
can reveal that the killer was just testing their eyesight.
Yes.
I can reveal the killer was an upsetting combination of late onset dementia and organ failure, simply brought about from old age.
Yes.
I can reveal that the killer is. Please subscribe to read on.
Yes.
The killer was nobody. Nobody hurt Polyphemus the Cyclops. Oh, really?
What? Is this
Okay.
Bible again?
No, it's the Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Literally the oldest joke in the world.
I didn't know the Cyclops had a name. I thought they were just called the Cyclops.
Odysseus has a name.
And Polyphemus has a name.
What? Now, Polyphemus. What's a Themis that they have more than one of?
Oh, no, it's been a really long time since my classics degree.
Right, okay. So it's the classic, let's just chuck out one reference to alienate the plebs, but we don't have any deep underlying knowledge. Thanks, Boris Johnson. Any more, friends? Who's the killer?
Can reveal that the killer is, and as the detective's mouth moved to tell us who this evil fiend responsible for slaying the people in front of us was, my eyes opened up, I sat upright. It was all a dream.
No. When I was 8, we were told if a story ever finished and it was all a dream, we'd get no points. So you just got no points.
Every story should end with it was all a dream. It is the best ending.
I can reveal that the killer is not the person you think it is right now, because there's at least 15 minutes of this program left.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to know more about that, listeners, go and listen to the podcast where Greg and I reviewed Happy Death Day, where the whole thing points at a really obvious person who's done it, but there's 50 minutes left, so you know it wasn't them. Shirley, I feel like you haven't got in with many. Shout us a couple.
I can now reveal who the killer was. According to literary theorist Roland Barthes in his Death of the Author, it's you, the reader.
Yes.
Wait, so what? One Greek joke is alienating. Roland Barthes is fine.
Yeah, that was recent. He was on top of the pops, for fuck's sake. Wow. Odysseus, right? That book, it's just a list of people he shagged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just floated around the Mediterranean, shagging everyone. Got home 20 years late to meet his 15-year-old son.
No questions are raised whatsoever when that happened.
And then they got that robot. Everyone was frozen. They went flying around space.
So you have read it?
Wow. Well, I've watched the theme tune to Odysseus. So it was. Right, let's tally up the points. Sarah Jones, how did they all do in that lovely, lovely round?
So I forgot to do the sums there, but I've just
got me to fill for a bit. So other things I know about the Odyssey and Gatsby are
I got distracted because my dog is just really tragically looking at me through the glass door, just like, why aren't you playing with me? What the hell are you doing with your life? And it's a good question, but anyway, I have now done the scores, and Masterpiece Bookshelf is still on top.
Matt Lucas used to do the scores on a thing, and he went on to do quite well, apart from the blacking up. And
I don't mean this. This is probably the highlight in my otherwise, failing life, where I haven't written any of my chapters for my thesis that's due in a few weeks. Anyway,
isn't your partner doing? Hasn't he done quite a? Couldn't he knock some words out for you?
I mean, he's not great with the words. He's good with the science, but he's not great with the words. So I don't think that'll be very helpful for me. Anyway, on to the point.
Yes.
As we all know, my strength. So Masterpiece Bookshelf, unfortunately, still trailing behind on tree digging.
Oh, good score, good score. It's difficult when you're carrying Gregory Akerman.
Talent Factory absolutely blowing them out of the water by not only being 14 points ahead, but also being on a blessed number. It's Pedro Pimp.
Woo! Has anyone else got points? Oh, Jay Gatsby got a point, didn't he? So
there's 1 point for Gatsby.
Me and Jones still on 0. The nation of Wales on 0. So you're not doing badly. Even if you're second Masterpiece Bookshelf, you're ahead of Gatsby.
Yes. Which is
Let's move on to round 3. Round 3 we've gone for a biblical round. It's a famous book. Some people have heard of it. And the question is this: The film Noah was terrible, apart from the Rock Angel Transformers, which were fucking great and need to have their own spin-out franchise. Not directed by Michael Bay, but I think somebody could do a lot of work with them. That would be great. So, what Bible story would have made a better film than Noah? And I'm going to flip the order around and we'll go to, who did we go to first last time? Gregory. So this time, and last time we went to Zoe last. So let's go to Zoe first. Zoe. Tell me what Bible story would make a better film than fucking Noah, which is just rain.
I've forgotten what it's called, but other than that, it's the bit where it says every time a man ejaculates or a woman finishes her period, you need to burn some pigeons and like aggressively clean everything they've sat on or touched. Because I just think this is like the post-apocalyptic horror movie the COVID world is looking for. You could kind of imagine like these kind of haunted Londoners racing through Trafalgar Square, trying frantically to catch the last pigeons so that they can cleanse themselves after they've been locked up in a house with nothing to do but masturbate.
Yes.
Phenomenal. I fucking hate pigeons. And everyone loves wanking. So I think this is a great, like, of all the Bible verses, I think it should be made evener. So that anyone of any sex or gender who has a wank, you should kill a pigeon. That should just be how you finish. You have to hold one in this hand. People call it choking the chicken, which is weird, given that you have to choke a pigeon to do it, to speak biblically. You have in your left, whatever you're doing with your right hand, you have to have a pigeon in your left hand, and it's cooing away, crew, 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 and as you go, crunch. And then you've got dinner for after, and that's nice. Meat is murder.
I mean, hand sanitizer in the world.
Oh, yesterday I remembered the science communicator who I saw last year doing a thing about how no one should use hand sanitizer because it doesn't work. And I was like, that aged well. That aged really well. Brilliant answer. Kate, where is that bit from?
Leviticus.
Point for Kate. If you'd said I don't know, the other team would have got a point for you. Make reverend.
In fairness, if in doubt, Leviticus.
Oh, yeah, Leviticus. It's full of joyous rules. You can have slaves from countries that border your own, but not from other countries. Is that in there somewhere? Yeah. It's annoying. So technically, I can, as an English person, I could have Sarah Jones as a slave. But my kids are Irish, so not them. As they'll probably tell me when they're a bit older and I ask them to tidy their rooms. You can't have us as slaves. We're Irish.
Never stopped the English before.
No, that's quite true, actually. You're right. We interpret the Bible quite liberally. Let's go over to Gregory Akerman. He's a man who you had a podcast about the Bible, or Bible as you call it, don't you? Because you
briefly,
think how did that go?
What?
A podcast which didn't have me on. How did it go?
Yes, fine.
Right.
It went.
So, Greg, Noah was shit. What Bible story would make a better film?
I'd go for the death of Abraham, right? But technically, I'd take it from a bit of the director's cut of Bible. So it goes into slightly more detail. And the film would be in two parts. The first half would be kind of like slapstick. So when God sends an angel Michael down to collect Abraham, and Abraham's like running around going like, no, get off me. I don't want to go. I'm not ready. And Michael's chasing him in a sort of Benny Hill way. That would go on for probably about an hour. Before Michael gives up, goes back to God, goes, he's not coming. God says, go on, try harder. Tell him there's some special prizes for him up here. Goes down, gets him, brings him up to heaven. Then, right, Bible will proper jump the shark when God gives him the keys to control all of punishment on the world. And we just have Abraham murdering people and going, Abraham! And shooting people and opening up the world to eat murderers and that before God comes back and goes, what were you doing? I gave you 5 minutes alone with the world and you've destroyed 5 people already. The end.
I've got some stabbing and blood samples.
Yep.
Especially for that one. Greggy, it was nice. I mean, they're clearly pre-prepared material in the middle from your 2016 Edinburgh show. Threw me off slightly, but 2015.
No, because that did not include anything to do with Abraham, apart from his name said once.
Still, you're not getting any more points. Let's go over to, who have we not heard from? Shirley. Shirley, you look like a very studious and religious type. Tell me, Noah was shit. What bit of the Bible should we make a film out of? Can you see who I'm saving for last in this round?
So I think the Book of Judith, which is in some Bibles and not in others, and that's because some Bibles cut out stuff that's not historically accurate, by which they think is sexy, because we know it was only invented in the 1960s, right? So Judith is this sexy widow, or MILF, if you will, and in the midst of one of the many battles in history, she takes herself off to go and carouse with the enemy, who is a general called Holofernes. Except while they're drinking and partying and stuff, she's doing the old trick where she's not actually drinking, she's throwing it over her shoulder into a plant pot, which we've all seen in movies. A great movie moment. Anyway, then as Holofernes says in Judith 9:27, the bedroom, let's get jiggy, which is from the Bible. But actually he falls asleep drunk. I mean, it's happened to most men. And she cuts off his head. And in the Old English poem that I was not really reading in translation, she does it in 2 parts. She like cuts halfway through and then she's like, I'll give it another go. So she's a strong, powerful, independent woman. Who doesn't love watching women destroy their enemies with swords?
Yes.
Tell me more about Judith. Is she fit?
Well, I assume so. She's a sexy widow. That's as much as we know, really. I think she's like also like godly, and there's lots of adjectives about how good
did she kill her first man? Is that why she's a widow? Is that like, or is that never spoken? It's like implicit underneath. Didn't she? Oh, guys, do you want to get near Judith? Woof. She's a bit dangerous.
A big hole in my knowledge, because I kind of studied the Old English poem, which starts midway through. It starts at like 10.
Yeah.
Or it starts at X rather, which is old.
You're leaving room for the sequel.
Yeah, that's true. There's some flashbacks that we could.
The Judithaning, where she just goes in judgment across all men. It's a great film. Great film.
Judy.
Sorry?
Judge Judy.
Yes, that's it. In fact, that is the sequel. Excellent point. Judith is given the power to sort out, because she was so good at. She wasn't one of the judges, though, was she? There's a whole thing about judges.
No, but there is a woman in Judges called Jael who puts a tent peg through a man's head after drugging his milk.
I used to love that. I mean, it's weird that they never let her work in Mega City 1 with Judge Dredd. Together, they'd be really good. Anyway, let's fly over for the final person. Final person? I've heard from everybody, haven't I? Yes. Who's going to answer this one? And really, they're on home territory here. This should be a grand slam. Noah was shit apart from the Transformers. What Bible story would have made a better film?
Okay, we've got a trailer voiceover. I'm really bad at it, but I'm going to try. So we've got in a world where giants can be murdered by a shepherd and then strip and shag his boyfriend, who is the king's son, it's about to get weird. So we've got King David as the foreskinator. He's going to go on a mission for the king to collect 200,000 Philistine foreskins to prove he's worthy to marry his boyfriend's little sister.
Yes.
So King David in this story is the shepherd, the boyfriend, the embattled fiance, and the guy who's going to go and collect 200,000 foreskins. Also, because it's King David, he's going to write and sing all of the songs himself.
Yes.
And they're really soulful and sensitive. And they'll probably win an Oscar. And that's King David. And that's before he sends a guy off to get killed because he saw his wife bathing naked on the roof and thought she was fit. Nice guy.
Yes.
I love the idea he's going to write and sing the theme tune.
Yeah.
If you want to, I'll get 200,000 foreskins. 200. There's only like 200,000 people in the world at that point. I can't assume that some of them haven't got foreskins.
Collect 100,000 and then collect 100,000 more.
We'll just cut them in half and claim they were smaller. Oh, I got them off smaller dicks. God, that was amazing. Wait, I've got a proper God voice that I can do. So let me just.
It better be a woman's voice.
No, it's boringly traditional in that it's my voice. In that I just talk like this, and I'm like, go and get me 200,000 foreskins. I'm quite pleased with that. That's all I used it for. But I've written the box off against tax now because I used it. Thank you. That was the main reason I had to use it. Is that it's now written off against tax. That's the end of round 3. I think. Have we heard from everybody? Yes. Well, I saved the obvious headliner for last. Sarah Jones. Now tell me, how are people doing? What's the scores? What's the news from Wales? What's it like in a tier 3 lockdown?
Well, it's not. We're not in a tier system in Wales. We're actually just in various local lockdowns.
In proper lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah, so tomorrow is switching to a proper just nationwide lockdown where you can't leave your house and stuff. So, I mean, it's fine because I can't leave my house because I've got a thesis to write.
Yeah.
I don't want to bang on about it. But that's what I've got going on in my life. Well,
should we, after the show finishes, all just stay on YouTube for an hour and just help Sarah with her thesis? And we could get our listeners as well to pitch in, and you could put some bits up as like Google documents and we could proofread them. Somebody could probably index it, citation, all that stuff. I've got a PhD and I'm a grumpy old man, and therefore I'm quite good at simulating PhD supervisors. Not supervisors, examiners. I can be like, what do you think of the opposing hypothesis?
I've actually got 2 female examiners.
Amazing. In that case, I bow out. You'll actually have a good, you'll have a fun viva.
Well, we'll see.
Probably just drink like Prosecco cocktails or something.
Bit stereotypical. But the good news is, as bad as my life is, it could be worse. I could be Gatsby, who's currently on 1 point. 1 point.
He doesn't deserve it.
1 pointy Gatsby. Well, quite a remarkable comeback from Masterpiece Bookshelf, who are currently on 50.
Wow.
Yep, not bad. But of course, Talent Factory still ahead on Pimp Dig Scythe.
Phenomenal. Big round of applause for them. I just realised I can do a Gatsby joke. Where's my thing that turns off my thing? Here's my Gatsby joke. It's just a single green light. Isn't that what he was all about? He would see that single green light and then he'd grab a pigeon, kill it. I should turn off all my other lights, but I've lost the little thing for doing it. I've got all this magic set up and it's all broken. Anyway, right. Back to work. Good news, everybody. Good news. We've got time for the bonus round. The bonus round is the all-time Never Explained classic. Who would win in a fight? And these are real physical fights. I don't want any metaphorical fights. We've talked earlier about how I hate metaphors and I don't hold with them. So who would win in the following fights, friends? Zoe, we're coming to you first. And I know you're a great fan of toxic masculinity. So who would win in a fight between Byron and Hemingway?
So first thing you need to know is that there are 3 key facts about Byron that are usually the only things people remember. He had a club foot. He had a pet bear. And he was rumoured to have slept with his sister.
Yes.
He's Ada Lovelace's dad, theoretically. Now, Hemingway, on the other hand, has 4 wives and is a miserable sod. So as far as I'm concerned, right, Byron is much cooler. I mean, for one thing, he was clever enough to get rid of his original name and be known by Byron, which is a lot cooler than George Gordon. Ernest Hemingway is still stuck with Ernest. But then you've also got the fact that Byron, as well as being like quite a good wrestler and having a pet bear, which I think we should emphasize again, Byron's known as a bit of a smooth talker and a bit of a Lothario. And as I say, Hemingway had 4 wives, all of whom he was kind of shit to. So I think Byron could quite easily get them on side, and like the 5 of them could kind of stage a little Hemingway offing and sort of chuck him in the Hellespont. And then they could all sit around and listen to Frankenstein being told, and everyone would have a wonderful time.
Yes.
You forgot the number 1 fact, which is Byron was from Nottinghamshire and therefore was just a top lad.
My favourite Byron fact is that despite everything else he had going on in his life, he was scandalised by the waltz.
Yeah, 3-4 time is well out. So when I was doing A-level English, because I've done A-level English, my teacher was trying to teach us which romantic poet was which, and he would do these little like pen portrait mnemonics for each of them, so you know who they were. And Byron's was, he said, when you think of Byron, just think of a man standing naked on top of a mountain shouting, "Look at my dick!" And that's what I think of. Shelley was, just think of somebody who's so pathetic that they forgot to learn how to swim, and as they drown they go, "Oh, I'm drowning."
And you know what the saddest thing is? That when you say Shelley, you mean the shit Shelley and not Mary Shelley, who was...
Well, I always think of her as Mary Wollstonecraft,
That's their daughter.
Well, I always think of her as her daughter. I'm trying to back myself out of this hole. I was doing a list of romantic poets. She's not a romantic poet, is she? She's
Mary Shelley also
to invent sci-fi after the person who actually invented sci-fi, which was Greg, who wrote that Burning World book that you did for Masterpiece Bookshelf.
Margaret Cavendish, was it?
Yeah, that was the person who invented sci-fi. That's a proper bonkers book.
Fucking excellent book as well.
Yeah. Was Frankenstein's just clear wish fulfillment. I don't know whose wishes. We'll get there in the end. That was good. Zoe, that was marvelous. Thank you for dealing with it. Let's go over to Greg. Greg, your challenge is this. Who would win in this fight? Jadis. Kate, help me out. Jadis, the White Witch off of Narnia, versus Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch off of the X-Men.
Scarlet Witch. The answer is the Scarlet Witch. But I will show you my workings. Now, the White Witch, she's like really hard. Like she's really good at killing. She's in 2 of the 7 Narnia books, and her main powers are turning people to stone, enticing children with treats. And she's also got the deplorable word, which Lewis Carroll never actually wrote down because he's a coward. But other than that, that can kill everyone in an entire world whenever it's uttered. But the Scarlet Witch, her initial powers were hex powers defined as undefined set of powers that could be used for the purpose required by the plot. So if I'm deciding that the plot is the Scarlet Witch will win, then her hex powers will definitely kill the White Witch. And if you don't think that's fair, we'll go forward a few iterations to where the Scarlet Witch's powers are changed to warping reality, which immediately means she can warp the fact that the deplorable word, the only power the White Witch has that is of any worth whatsoever, she can warp that into being something which either doesn't kill her, kills the White Witch as soon as she says it, even though she didn't think it would do, or does nothing whatsoever, or turns people into spiders. She could change it into whatever she wants and still win. Scarlet Witch wins in any fight ever because her powers are whatever she wants them to be.
I have a question.
I've got 2. Can I do 2 for points first? I'll give a point to whoever comes up with the best word to be the deplorable word.
Thesis.
That's it. It's over. That's a point, Zoe. And I'll give a point to anyone who can tell me the bit that I'm about to mock Greg for getting completely wrong.
The wrong author's name.
Thank you.
Yes.
Same thing.
Lewis Carroll did not write the Narnia books.
That was
even I know that.
That was his name.
Now you've got me confused, and I can't remember the real name.
Did you want the pen name, not the real name? Sorry, I assumed that you would want me to go for.
Did he write them under the name A.A. Milne? Is that what you're telling?
No, as Tolkien. That was his original pen name.
Yeah, Tolkien. Yeah. Jesus Christ. No, his real name was Anthony Hopkins. Everyone knows that. Right, that was good. That was a better answer than I was expecting. Let's go over to Shirley. We're going to do a little bit of a zoological round here. Zoe, Shirley, sorry, not Zoe. Shirley, you're last. Shirley, who would win in a fight between the bug from Kafka's Metamorphosis and Buck the dog from Call of the Wild?
Okay.
These are all A-level texts. That's how I pick all these books. It's like, is it A-level?
I never heard of Call of the Wild before.
What?
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But it's all right. I studied the easy read version of the trailer for the movie.
All you need to know is this is a dog, and it's like loyal.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that much. So basically, we're talking about a bug that is in physical terms the same size as a human, and a dog who is the same size as a dog. People are at least 2 times bigger than even a big dog. And this bug still manages to have the brain of Gregor Samson, who I think is the real villain here. Gregor Samson is a salesperson.
Yes.
So we can safely assume he'd be a cold-blooded killer, right?
Yes.
People just go really hard and just don't stop. We've all been into Lush. I actually once bought a whole team's worth of paintball vouchers just because of a mildly enthusiastic sales guy outside Angel Station. Whereas dogs are known for heart and soul, strength and compassion. None of these are attributes for a salesperson. And Gregor is going to be particularly ruthless because he has this job to pay off his debts. That's like a good motivator. Whereas Buck the dog doesn't have the same motivation because I Googled this. Dogs are legally not allowed to have debts. To be fair, Gregor does have one weakness, and that is being knocked on his back. But this dog is kind-hearted, right? His one weakness is empathy. So he's going to help the bug up, and then the big bug's going to continue to beat him up with all 6 of his feet. The bug wins.
I love this round because it just produces like beautiful torrents of creativity like that. That was marvelous. I mean, some dogs are quite big and some people are quite small. That's the only weakness in your argument. Well, let's score that up, and we're going to go over to Kate for the final bit of this round. Kate, who would win in a fight between Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy from Little Women, and it's a battle royale?
Okay.
We got to finish with a battle royale.
So firstly, I'm assuming the only person who could have instigated this battle royale is Marmy March, which is bleak, but we'll go with it.
No, I've never read Little Women. Everything I know about Little Women is in the question.
Right, fair enough. All right, well, additional things you need to know. Jo's probably a lesbian, and Laurie is her beard. So Amy stashes Beth somewhere safe where she can't be found, because Beth is the one that everyone's going to pick off first. Beth doesn't want one of her sisters to have to kill her, so Beth has probably got a quiet stash of sleeping pills, and Beth is out. So that leaves us with Meg.
That was darker than I thought this was going to be.
You put them in a battle royale.
We got a warning on this whole show for that. Crikey, the bug eating the dog was less traumatic than that.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Have an extra point for sheer darkness.
Right, and Meg. Meg is taken out by Jo with probably some kind of sporting equipment, maybe just a whacking great encyclopedia, and that leaves Jo and Amy. Everyone assumes Jo is going to win. She's got the physical strength, she's older, but Amy is a stone cold bitch with a hairpin, so Jo's dead. Amy wins.
Hairpins are a really dangerous thing to let people walk around with. Like, hair clips are much safer, aren't they? It's weird that in the old days everyone just had weapons, just for normal bits of their kit. Massive round of applause for Kate for dealing with one of the most awkward questions that I've ever said. I'm very proud of it. I'm glad you've read Little Women. Also, I love your subtext analysis. This one's definitely gay. That's the perfect.
That's how I read every book as a kid. Where's the gay one?
Right. Now, if anyone in the show would like to suggest books that they've not identified the gay one in, to find out who the gay one is from Kate, every book that she comes up for a funny one with, I will give you a point for suggesting a book and her a point for knowing who the gay one is. Go. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Peter.
That's so true. Yes, 1,000,000 times over. Yes.
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo.
Yeah. That's why he likes girls that are so young they've not gone through puberty yet, presumably. She looks like a little boy, thought Romeo.
Jane Eyre.
I'm giving you Mercutio.
Jane Eyre. Probably Bertha Mason.
Kate's just racking up the points here. Sorry to everybody else.
Yes.
of mice
If,
and men.
if Shirley wants to do identify the character who's secretly from the southwest,
Is it Lenny, the one who cries a lot? I'm sorry to stereotype.
right? That's yes. That got offensive suddenly there. So a point off again.
Do you know what? I haven't read of Mice and Men, so I know one character and one attribute.
Right. Yeah. It's the mice again of Mice and Men. Let's fly over to Sarah Jones. We're going to find out who's won, and we're going to see if there's any advice for the teams from the number one expert on both this game and numbers. Sarah Jones, tell us, Sarah, who's won?
Well, Masterpiece Bookshelf have done quite a good job of closing the gap, but it just hasn't been enough.
I tried to help them by giving them extra rounds that were just for them.
We did get pity points. It's all good.
Unfortunately, they're only on Saith Degeen.
Whoa, it's not bad. It's not a bad score. It's not a bad score, especially given Gregory Akerman's on that team.
Thank you.
But absolutely storming ahead. Well, not that far ahead now. We're on Telefactory, who are on Saith Dig Saith.
Oh, that's a big score. That's a big score, 77. Congratulations to our winners. Sarah, do you have any advice for our teams?
I'd say don't get as drunk as I have done today. It's generally.
But what else is there to do in lockdown Wales? You just drink Penderyn.
Yeah, that is true.
How do I pronounce it?
Annoyingly as well, we can only go 5 miles away from our house, and I live 6 miles away from the beach.
How far away do you live from the nearest shop?
About 2 miles, maybe.
You're all right then.
Yeah.
So you can go and buy pictures of the beach.
You can go for food. Like
you go and buy a drone and walk to the edge of the 5 miles, fly it in the air and fly it to the beach and at least have a look at the beach. Can you claim you thought it was in kilometers?
I mean, I really don't think they're actually going to police it, but
you want me to send you some glasses so you can claim you were testing your eyesight?
Yeah, okay.
I've got old glasses that aren't as cool as these ones I can send you. Gregory.
Policing it. What's the point in rules if no one's going to pay attention to them, though?
I mean, for the purposes of this going out on video, I'm definitely going to pay attention to all of the rules.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. That's exactly what we needed to hear. Thank you all so much for playing. This has been a super fun game. We'll definitely be back with more books that I haven't read but feel qualified to ask questions about anyway. And then I just give a point whenever anything sounds like it's probably a good reference. Thank you very much to all of our teams. Big round of applause at home for all of our incredible teams. All of the 2 of teams with 2 members each, 4 people. To Greg and Kate and Shirley and Zoe. What wonderful players. So thanks again to Sarah Jones for being Welsh. We've been this. If you've enjoyed this, there's things coming up that you should go to. One is I'm doing a show just called Conceptual Mindfuckery on November the 3rd, which is me and a bunch of other comedians I know just trying to break Zoom. We're going to do all the stuff that, because normal comedy, you can do like normal comedy things, but you can only do comedy things. Whereas when you're at home and you're doing Zoom, you just randomly replace. Well, you can just replace yourself with a puppet, and that's fine. And that will be the least interesting of the weird shit we're doing. We'll be doing sets which are just entirely lighting effects. We'll be doing endless. This, I should imagine, will be endlessly being used. And I've got different effects. I can be a robot that's really robot-y, and this, which is Gregory's favourite voice for me to do through this whole thing.
I don't like it. I feel uncomfortable.
And, so that's November the 3rd. If you go onto Facebook or you go onto Eventbrite and look for Conceptual Mindfuckery, maybe just search Conceptual Mind because the fuckery's got asterisks in so I don't get banned. And now I'm going to go to the rest of our wonderful people. What would you like to advertise that you have coming up?
Listen Chaotic Adequate and go on Twitter, look for any D&D podcast and bully them and tell them that they're rubbish and for losers and not nearly as good as Chaotic Adequate.
Yeah. Especially Critical Role or Critical Hole, as I call it.
That's how you slam them.
Critic Hole.
I just call them pricks for pricks.
Critic.
Yeah.
Hole. Critic hole.
Do that. Bully all of them as hard as you can. and
People are
make them
just jumping off the YouTube like crazy as they realise that we're just doing adverts now. Does anyone else have anything to advertise?
Jesus?
Yes. Everyone, oh, Lord. Like, it's pandemic times. You all need a new pandemic lockdown hobby. What better than Christianity?
None better.
Just saying, there's a big payoff. Big payoff. And there's plenty of stuff. There's good merch. There's a lot of stuff. Like, it's not like getting into Star Wars where there's only 3 films to watch and you're done. There's a lot of stuff. So good suggestion, Kate. Anyone else? No, brilliant. Right. Have a lovely time. And all the various things. Come to Conceptual Mindfuckery. Join the church. Bye-bye. I've ended the stream.